Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
One of the things I talk about a lot when I get out and work with groups, and certainly within AmSpirit Business Connections, is I tell people you've got to give. You got to find ways to help other people. That's really the secret sauce to being successful in building a network and having strong relationships. One time I was sharing that, and there was a particular mortgage lender who really pushed back on me, and not really pushed back, but he said, "Well, I do give, Frank. I do. You don't understand. Every time I do a mortgage for somebody, I give them a special rate. When there are referrals, I give them a special rate on our origination fees. That's my give back to them." And I told the guy, I said, that's great. That's great business, but it's not necessarily great networking. And to be great at networking, you need to do things for the people in your network, do things for your clients that are beyond the things that you sell. And so the other day, it was a while ago, I was actually reviewing or reading one of Bob Berg's Daily Impact emails, and I talk about these things, and if you get a chance, you should subscribe. But Bob shared one out, and he was quoting somebody he knew, and I now know because he's going to be our guest here, Bill Krebs. And Bill he's a financial advisor. He's a financial advisor with Raymond James, and we're not going to get into a lot of financial advising stuff. We want to kind of avoid the compliance thing, but he has a genuine passion for intentionalizing excellence when it comes to networking and how he serves his client. And that's what Bob shared out, was an acronym that Bill has to get him focused on doing things for the client. Yeah, I'm sure there's lots of financial advising stuff, and he's great. Bill's great at what he does, but doing things beyond those things. So, Bill, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Frank. Glad to be here.
How long have you been a financial advisor?
Well, I've been associated in this space for about 40 years, but specifically with Raymond James, coming up on 14 years, and prior to that with Merrill Lynch for a little while. But Great business, great opportunity, because you're really in a ministry to serve people.
Yeah, it's. I think it's going to work out for you at this point. You probably don't have a fallback position. This is your position.
It is. It's something I love, and I'm blessed to be working with people that I really enjoy working with, to include my son. And when you can be in business that makes an impact, and you're in business with people you enjoy, especially your family members, it's a blessing.
Yeah. Well, you just mentioned something there, serving others. Mm-hmm. And, you really are serving others in that space.
Truly, because you're getting if you're working on the family board of advisor and you're one of the members, you get to know families at a very intimate level, and the opportunity to add value is just huge. And that's why Bob Berg has been one of my heroes. I've read everything he's written. I like his information. His book on the Go Giver, I ended up giving out about 100 plus copies of it. I just think it's a great book and great principles to walk by. Yeah,
no, I totally agree. And one of your now I'm finding out many acronyms has to do with the word giver, and I kind of want to walk through that, and that's what really caught my attention with respect to when Bob had mentioned you in his email. I responded right away and said, "Hey, could you introduce me to this guy? I would love to get this on my podcast." I mean, I could just talk about it, but it's more fun talking with people. So if we could, let's walk through that point by point and really kind of delve into it.
Oh, absolutely. The Go Giver book I love, but to take the word giver and really kind of build a little bit of a mental memory muscle, if you will, the G is really putting the client's goals in focus, understanding what's important to the client. Not about Raymond James, not about Bill Krebs. It's about what's important to the client. So the G reminds me to always be focusing on the client goals. The I reminds me to say, what are the issues that are important to the client? So you go goals and issues. The V is how can we add value? Can we add value? How can we add value? The E is how can I encourage this person in front of me? And what can I do to encourage? And the R is there someone in my network that I can refer that can help this individual with their current situation, their goals, whatever's important to them. So the giver just helps me kind of suspend self-interest, be focused on the person in front of me, and do all we can to be adding value to that person.
Now, I guess let's pick on each of these here. Each of these. What are the client's goals? Is that something you actively do on the front end? Really kind of sit down and have a one-on-one with them?
We do a lot on the front end before they ever become a client. Our philosophy, if you will, is it's almost a little bit of a gap analysis. And I use GAP like an acronym. Got a problem, get a partner, get a plan. If they've got a problem, I kind of think of it as sort of this is where they are, that's A. If this is where they want to go, that's B. If there is a delta between A and B, there may be an opportunity for us to add relational alpha. If there's not a gap between where they are and they're happy and they've got great advisors, then we say, hey, God bless you, permission to stay in touch. But if they've got some gaps, we think most folks do better when they have a good partner that they trust and they have a plan in place. And that really, if we can understand the goals, and then, if I may, Frank, take it to another level, if I know the other advisors around that family and we know the goals, it's important that we're all looking in the direction of that client goals. And we may not see eye to eye as advisors, CPA, attorney, insurance agent, all the people, but we need to know what is important to the client so that we're making sure we're all moving in the right direction.
That's really powerful, to be honest. I mean, you got to know where people are headed. Point A, point B. I love that. As far as issues, what sort of issues, are you running up against with respect to your clients? I'm sure it runs the gamut.
It runs the gamut. I have a little bit of a phrase. I say this with all sincerity.
Includes my own. All these things down.
No, all my family. A family doesn't start from functional to dysfunctional. The reality is most families have a level of dysfunction, and then it gets really dysfunctional, and there are issues. They've got a child off track. They've got a parent that needs help financially. There's something going on here that's unique to that family. If you can understand those issues, then it starts to reveal itself as to where you can add some value. It could be who you refer. It could be something you can do for that family. But again, it's all about looking for, is there an opportunity? And I like to use this, the acronym SAVE sometimes, and that is, can we serve and add value with excellence? If we can't add value with excellence, then let's not engage. Let's not waste each other's time. But the more I can understand their goals, understand their issues, it's huge. And then we can then step back and say, okay, can we add value? How can we add value?
And that gets into the third letter. How can we add value? We'll touch on that. But just to continue on with respect to the issues question, I think when we look at other people, we often feel like, okay, they've got it all together. You know what? They've got a huge net worth. They've got a family business. And the reality, that's not true.
No, the longer I live, the more I realize that the days of, and I'll date myself, the days of Andy and Mayberry or Ozzie and Harriet or Leave It to Beaver, those days never were. If anything, there's a wonderful coach out of Canada that says the number one challenge in the world today is chronic complexity. And that things are very complex. Yeah. People are looking to have a relationship that gives them a little bit more simplicity in their life and more convenience. And that's what we're trying to do, is help the client be able to say, hey, I feel better about where I'm going, my whole family situation. You've brought some people around me that are going to help me. Oftentimes, we're spending a lot of energy around that before we ever talk anything to do with investments at all. Because that's really where they really want assistance on some of the other family matters.
Now, my wife and I have this conversation from time to time. We'll look at our family and say, oh, geez, how did we get so dysfunctional, right? What happened here? And not just our immediate family, but extended family. So, what happened here? And I have to remind myself and remind my wife that we have a front row seat to our lives. We don't have a front row seat to our network's lives, to the people we know. And chances are, if we did, we would probably start to find these things out. Because people don't broadcast what their issues are. They'll appear from time to time. Now, how can we add value? What sorts of value do you add?
Just as an example, I had a recent people we were introduced to. It's a second marriage. It's a blended family. They have no legal documents in place. He's still actively at work. He's traveling. I mean, that's something we triage. Number one, let's get you bulletproof. Let's bring a good attorney to the table that can help you with everything from the core documents, the ancillary documents. Let's make sure the beneficiaries are squared away. So there's a lot we do that is over and above because we just think part and parcel. We know about it. I haven't shared my favorite acronym with you. My favorite acronym is the word EDGE, and that is everyone deserves a great experience. Doesn't matter to me whether you're worth $10,000 or $10 million. You deserve a good experience. You really do. And if we're in a position where we can come alongside of a family and point them in the right direction, help them with some of the issues they've got, I feel like that's part of the ministry and part of the business of serving others. I think that's what we should do.
I like that. Okay, encouraging.
Well, I think you're encouraging. I'd love to be able to catch people, and just before I even meet people, I will try to connect with them on LinkedIn. I don't even the home office people. I'll try to make sure I'm connected on LinkedIn. And you encourage people. You find there's something in common. Maybe they were prior military, you're prior military. Maybe there's something in common. And I just found that can become a trust accelerant. To the degree you've done a little homework, you look at their LinkedIn, you see there's something in common. It just all of a sudden you're building a bridge for communication, a conversation, and that oftentimes leads to just a great experience because you've got some things in common. You're able to encourage each other. That's good.
Do you find yourself encouraging people with respect to their finances?
Well, oftentimes people are in much better shape than they realize. They've just never really had it put together in a good plan, see everything they have, realize that, hey, they're really in better shape than they are, and that empowers them to feel better about where they are, when they'll be able to retire. And it may not be something that they wake up really looking at all of this. And in my practice, we've been blessed to work with probably close to 50 folks that have gone through a challenging divorce or an untimely death of a spouse. And oftentimes they weren't the primary person on point with the finances. And so if they can have a partner they trust, I just believe it's a little bit like the Domino's pizza is a better pizza, better experience. If you can have a better partner, you can have a better experience.
Right.
And I think people really are looking for a partner they can trust. They can be very willing to share things, and we can be in a position to encourage them that, hey, you're going to be okay. Here's what we need to do.
And then the final letter R to giver is, who can we refer to help the client?
Well, one of the questions I love to ask is, are you happy with your current advisors? Sometimes they'll say, I've been doing my accounting myself. I'm going to have to engage somebody. Or they'll say, the attorney I used is no longer in practice. He's retired. So that gives me an opportunity to maybe refer people that I know, give them some choices, give them some alternatives that they could consider. And I just think to the degree that you can have a formal or informal board of advisors around you that is looking in the same direction you're looking at, you're going through life with a lot more confidence. You're just feeling good. Oftentimes I dealt with a lady, bless her heart. She had lost her husband, a younger person. She needed to make sure she put an alarm system in her house. We helped her with getting an alarm company. So this isn't really financial related, but it was an issue that was important to the family. And that's why I think you need to build and keep a really good Rolodex, if you will, to use that term, of what are some sources and resources that can help people. They need a realtor, they help. And so we have really tried to work with centers of influence over the years and develop that network so that we can make sure that we're aligning a need for a client with someone that can really deliver a great experience.
Well, it gets back to how I opened up the episode. You need to serve people beyond what it is you sell. Bill, I really appreciate you taking the time today to share not just the giver acronym, but all the other acronyms, GAP, EDGE, probably missed a few. I know I missed a few. Thanks for your time. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Probably the easiest thing, just they can email me. It's bill.krebs, that's Krebs, at raymondjames.com. We also have a website, Piedmont Wealth Advisors, and it's just like it sounds, www.piedmontwealthadvisors.com. So real easy to reach out to us, and we'd love to be of service to anybody if it's a good fit.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.